You know that place that makes you wonder if you're walking into a scene from a horror movie or if your imagination is just playing tricks on you? That's exactly the feeling you get when you come face to face with the famous Island of the Dolls in Mexico. From afar, the scenery looks like just a little piece of land lost in the canals of Xochimilco, a region famous for its colorful and festive trajineras. But as the boat approaches, the impression changes completely. Instead of flowers and tourists toasting with tequila, what you see are hundreds, maybe thousands of dolls scattered everywhere. Dolls hanging from trees, tied to fences, thrown on the ground, and even stuck to the roofs of huts. Some without eyes, others without arms or legs, with cracked faces and expressions that seem frozen in time. The scariest thing is that this isn't a Halloween decoration or a horror theme park. It was the work of a single man who lived on this island for decades, consumed by a macabre history and a fear that haunted him until his last days. Today, Bello Mundo takes you to unravel every detail of this place that mixes scares, superstitions, and a very peculiar piece of Mexican culture. Mexico is a country that takes its traditions very seriously, and when we say seriously, we mean seriously. There, the relationship with the supernatural is part of everyday life. It's not just about tequila and tacos, but also about legends, spirits, and an almost sacred respect for what goes beyond our comprehension. Dia de los Muertos, for example, is not a sad event. On the contrary, it's an all-out party to celebrate the departed, with colorful altars, sugar skulls, and lots of music. Now, if you think that's different, wait until you meet Santa Muerte, a figure worshipped by thousands of devotees who believe that she can bring protection, favors, and even revenge, depending on what you ask for. In other words, if there's one place in the world where macabre stories can come true, it's Mexico, and in the midst of so many legends, there is one that stands out for being bizarre even by local standards. The Island of the Dolls, a place where every corner is guarded by plastic eyes, broken smiles, and heads hanging by their necks. If that sounds scary now, just wait until you hear the story behind this horror movie set. Number 1. Location. The Island of the Dolls, or Isla de las Muñecas, is hidden among the canals of Xochimilco, one of the most iconic areas of Mexico City and recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site. Xochimilco is famous for its colorful trajineras, decorated boats that sail through a vast network of canals that have existed since Aztec times. In the middle of this lively landscape, there are small artificial islands called chinampas, which were originally created for cultivation, but which today are home to residents, small farms, and some frightening surprises. And it is precisely on one of these chinampas that the protagonist of today's story is to be found. About an acre in size with no electricity or running water, this island differs from all the others in one disturbing detail. It is overrun with dolls. Dolls of all sizes and states, hanging from trees, fences, and wooden huts. And the question remains, what led this place to become a setting worthy of a horror movie? Where did all these dolls come from? Number 2. History. Our story begins in the 50s with a man called Don Julian Santana Barrera, a hermit who decided to isolate himself from the rest of the world and live alone on this small island. No one knows exactly why he chose this fate. Some say he just wanted a simple life away from civilization. Others believe that something was deeply troubling him and that isolation was his only way out. What is known for sure is that he lived humbly, growing fruit and vegetables, which he then sold in the city. His routine was peaceful, until the day everything changed. On a day that has never been precisely dated, Don Julian found the body of a girl who had drowned near his island. The details of this tragedy are unclear. Some versions say that the girl was playing on the shore when she slipped and was swept away by the current. Others suggest that she was swimming with friends when she suddenly became trapped in the submerged vegetation and was unable to return to the surface. What matters is that her lifeless body was found very close to the island. This episode was scary enough on its own, but what followed made the situation even stranger. Don Julian began to claim that the girl's spirit remained there, trapped on the island. He said he heard whispers, footsteps in the vegetation, and even children crying at night. He felt that there was a presence around him, something that never left him alone. Until one day he saw something that made him believe it wasn't all in his head. A doll floating in the water, near the spot where the girl's body had been found. Nobody knows if the doll really belonged to the girl, but for him it was a clear sign, a request for peace. Not knowing what to do to calm the spirit, he took the doll and hung it in a tree as a kind of offering. Perhaps this would bring peace to the girl's soul. Perhaps it would drive away the presence he felt hanging around the island. But the whispers didn't stop. That's when he felt that the doll hadn't been enough and that he needed to do more. So he found another and hung it up too. Then another, and another. With every strange noise he heard, with every wind that shook the trees in a different way, he added another doll to the island. What began as an isolated gesture soon became an obsession. Number 3. The collection. Believing strongly in this haunting story, he decided to collect as many dolls as he could to protect the island and also keep the girl's spirit company. But he didn't go to the stores to buy new toys. Not at all. He searched Mexico City's garbage dumps, collected whole or broken dolls, picked up the ones he found floating in the canal, and brought them all to the island. Many were already broken, dirty, headless, armless, or completely disfigured. And instead of fixing or cleaning them, he simply hung them wherever he could, on trees, fences, roofs, walls. Most of the time, he tied them by the neck or by the arms and legs, which only made them look even more macabre. Anyone passing by for the first time couldn't tell if they were looking at a collection of toys or a scene straight out of a horror movie. The locals began to find it strange, but at the same time they saw Don Julian as a harmless man who simply took his beliefs to the extreme. Some people began to leave old dolls on the bank of the canal for him to collect. Others exchanged them for the fruit and vegetables he grew. Over time, the collection grew so large that the whole island looked like a graveyard of abandoned toys. According to a report by Australian broadcaster ABC, a local tour guide said that Don Julian wasn't looking for ordinary dolls. He wanted those that looked like they had been through something dark. It wasn't marketing, it wasn't to attract tourists. He did it because he believed it was necessary to calm the girl's spirit and keep the island safe. Number 4. The tragic end. Don Julian carried on with his mission until the end of his life, but his story ended in a way that only added to the mystery. In 2001, he was found dead on the island. And the most chilling detail, he drowned in exactly the same place where, decades earlier, the girl had lost her life. Versions of his death vary. Some say it was a heart attack while he was in the water. Others swear that the spirit he spent so many years trying to appease finally took him. But there is also a third version, told by his own nephew. According to him, the two of them were on the island that day, and Don Julian seemed strange, humming as if in a trance. At one point, he said that the mermaids were calling him. His nephew left for a moment, and when he returned, he found the old man lying face down in the canal, already lifeless. The official cause of death may have been a heart attack, but the mystery and legends continue. Was it just a sudden illness, or was Don Julian really taken by something that he himself believed haunted the island? Let us know what you think in the comments. Which theory makes sense? Do you believe any of them? Number 5. Curse or legend? Regardless of any doubts about the legend, one thing is undeniable. The dolls are there, and Don Julian really did spend decades hanging each one of them. But did he do it to appease a restless spirit, or was it just a compulsive behavior linked to accumulation? This is one of the great mysteries of the island of the dolls. Some say that the story of the girl's spirit was never more than an invention or exaggeration. After all, there are no concrete records of a little girl drowning in the canals of Xochimilco at that time. No body has ever been found, and no documents prove the tragedy. But on the other hand, the island exudes such a bizarre and unusual atmosphere that even skeptics leave with one foot on the ground. What no one can deny is that this has become the largest haunted doll cemetery in the world. The site has even made it into the Guinness Book of Records as the largest collection of its kind ever recorded. More than 4,000 dolls of all sizes, colors, and states of preservation are scattered all over the place, and believe me, there's everything. Modern dolls, antique dolls, cloth dolls, plastic dolls, some dressed in tattered clothes and others completely naked. Some look like they've come out of a horror movie. No eyes, burnt, dismembered, or simply damaged by time. There are also dolls whose faces have been taken over by mold, making them even more sinister, and those that seem to have been swallowed up by the vegetation, as if the island were slowly incorporating them into the scenery. Some of these dolls are said to have stories of their own. One of them, with a deformed mouth covered in cobwebs, was supposedly blessed by none other than Lady Gaga. Another, even more famous, was donated by filmmaker Tim Burton, known for his dark films. This particular doll reportedly has long black hair and piercing blue eyes. In an interview with Mexican channel Uno TV, the island's current administrator, Regelia Sanchez, confirmed the director's visit and said that the doll is still on display today. But among them, one stands out: Augustinita. Unlike the others, this doll has its own little shrine. Medium-sized, blonde, with a crown of pink flowers and glasses, Augustinita is considered miraculous by the locals. They say that if someone makes requests of her and leaves small offerings, they can receive blessings or protection from the island's spirits. Some claim to have seen the doll move at night, but of course that could just be imagination. Whether out of superstition, madness, or a reason that no one will ever understand, Don Julian turned this island into one of the scariest places on the planet. And to this day, visitors claim that when they pass by, they feel the presence of something watching. Number 6. The continuity of tradition. Over the years, the island of the dolls has ceased to be just a local mystery and has become one of the most iconic destinations for those who enjoy dark tourism and macabre stories. What began as the obsession of an isolated man ended up becoming one of the most haunted places in the world, according to documentaries, horror forums, and TV shows specializing in the paranormal. Since the 90s, the island has gained notoriety on the internet, being shared on lists of scary places and attracting the attention of researchers into supernatural phenomena. The Sci-Fi Channel, for example, dedicated an entire episode of the show Destination Truth to exploring the island. The team spent the night there, reporting apparitions and hearing unexplained voices. Several horror films have also tried to recreate the legend, including one in 2030 that promised to reveal the deadly truth behind the story. Today, the island is run by Don Julian's family, who saw the public's curiosity as an opportunity to keep the story alive and, of course, make a profit from tourism. The site welcomes visitors every day, and there are even night tours for the bravest. But beware, there are several fake islands in the region, set up by clever locals to fool unsuspecting tourists. And for those thinking of spending the night on the island, be warned. Locals swear that at nightfall some dolls move on their own. Their eyes open and close, their heads turn, and their arms change position. It could just be the wind, as many are attached by weathered wires. But when you're surrounded by thousands of macabre-looking dolls, do you really want to risk finding out if it's just a trick of the mind or something else? And now we want to know, what did you think of Doll Island? Would you dare to visit it, or would you rather admire this story from afar? Leave your comment below and share this video with anyone who also loves mysterious stories and places that seem straight out of a horror movie. And if you enjoyed this journey through the darker side of Mexico, you already know there's a lot more to come. So stay tuned here at Bello Mundo, because we always bring you stories that go beyond the obvious. Thank you very much for joining us. See you in the next video, with more mysteries, curiosities, and legends that the world hides. See you next time.